and branding and marketing, that dates back for a while. I was doing branding and marketing before I even knew that I was doing branding and marketing. So, but either way, I mean, you don't know until you know. So you kind of just have to try and do. Even though I'm on the go, I wanted to make sure that I still came on and did this live session because I want to be consistent and give you guys the content. For those of you who are new and don't know, my name is Brianna Régine. I am a publicist and brand strategist based out of Connecticut, and I help increase the visibility of brands in the entertainment, lifestyle, and beauty spaces via my full service agency, Brianna Régine Visionary Consulting. And I also am a blogger, and I'm manifesting and taking this new role in as a speaker as well.
You know, you gotta be it in order to achieve it. You know what I'm saying?
So that's me. And lately I started doing weekly Instagram live sessions where I bring you guys branding, marketing, and PR tips, as well as anything that happens to be on my mind that I think in particular impacts entrepreneurs, millennials, just people trying to navigate what they want to do with their life, you know, because I feel like a lot of the times on social media things tend to be very highlight reelish, and you know, people like to deliver a particular perception, which obviously I get it, but at the same time I think there needs to be a balance of reality and truth, and a space where real dialogue and discussion can happen about topics that, you know, we all think about but may not necessarily feel like there's anyone we can talk to about it, or even just seeking validation or affirmation from someone who's outside of your group. First tip. So the first branding tip that I was thinking about, that really is a pet peeve of mine, and more importantly, you should want to change it, is when your social media platforms aren't in sync. So for me, for my personal brand, every place that I exist, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, everything says Brianna Régine, right? From my agency page, everything pretty much says BR Visionary Consulting, except for Twitter, just because the name is too long. But for the most part, it's all the same. When you look it up, you can find it. It's there. If you are, you know, Pink 2337 on one platform and the name of your business is like, you know, Brianna's Bakery, then how are people going to be able to find you? Seems like it's not important, but it really is. One tip that I would give you is please make sure that all of your public facing platforms have the same name. Don't make it hard for people to find, you know, your business and more about what you do, and see your images and see what your brand represents, and get to engage with your brand via dialogue. Don't make it hard for people to find that, to see that, because if people are able to access those pictures, are able to access your milestones, are able to see what you guys are talking about, who you're speaking to in terms of your customers or whatever the case may be, if people are able to see that, then that only gives more insight into who you are and what your brand is about, and it increases the chances of people latching on to what it is that you do. The marketing tip is, I feel like I've said this before, I definitely have said it before on social media, please make sure that you are creating a database for yourself that you can use for whether it be research purposes or pitching yourself for potential partnerships, or just finding another way to communicate with your audience. And the best way, honestly, to do that is to develop newsletters. A lot of people, I feel like they don't necessarily feel there is an importance to have a newsletter or a place where you are collecting emails, but I heavily disagree. Yes, it's another thing that you have to put on your to-do list and worry about, but at the same time, if social media evaporates tomorrow, and that's where the core of your audience is in terms of like seeing engagement and things like that, well then how are you going to be able to communicate with them? How are you going to be able to tell them what products or services that you have going on? If you have a newsletter or another place where those email addresses, those names, those phone numbers are saved, then it's sort of like you have backup. You can still communicate with your audience. So please consider and do find ways to build your newsletter. And in terms of the PR tip, you guys, please do your research. If you don't want to do research, or you're not good at it, or you just don't feel like doing it, then PR is not the field for you. And the reason why I bring that up is because when you're reaching out to people and when you're pitching people, you have to make sure that you are reaching out to the right person. If I'm going to a publication and I'm trying to pitch my artist, or my client's, latest hairstyle technique, right? And I'm looking for someone to contact, the last person I want is the email that says info@ da-da-da-da-da, or sales@ da-da-da-da-da, because that's too generic. I want to try and get the person that will not only be interested in my story, but cover my story. And that person 9 times out of 10 is not at a info or a sales@ da-da-da-da.com. It's not at any of those things. So please do your research. It's super important. You cannot be lazy when you're reaching out to these publications, when you're reaching out to these blogs. And taking it a step further, here's an additional tip. If, let's say, it's a smaller outlet and they only have a info@ email address, try and do some research so that you can figure out the name of the person that's going to be opening that email, whether it is the owner or whether it is the assistant to the owner. Do some digging and see if you can find the name of the person. And if all else fails, if you can, I'm just giving you, here's another tip, another PR tip. If all else fails, when you send that email, please make sure you say, hey, and then take it a step further. If you cannot find the name, say, hey, Essence Magazine team, or hey, Essence PR team. Address someone. People like to be addressed. There is a person receiving your email. You want to make that human to human connection. So just to recap the 3 tips. The first branding tip was, please make sure that all of your public facing components are cohesive. The marketing tip, please consider creating a database where you can have your audience personnel living. In particular, the best way to do that is to start considering newsletter databases. Third tip, and it was a PR tip, is just make sure that you're doing your research. Make sure that when you are pitching yourself to these publications, to these blogs, to these radio stations, that you are doing your due diligence and you are trying to find the best contact. So the difference between the discovery call and the consultation call, I have 2 options.
I gave y'all options because options are key. I want my people to win. All right, so here we go. Pay attention.
Discovery call through my agency is 30 minutes and it's free. That call is for people who are really interested in investing themselves and are considering a long-term partnership. We sit down, we figure out your why, we figure out where your areas of needed support are, and then we talk about how BRVC can help you. That's different from a consultation call, because a consultation call costs money, yes, but it's 60 minutes, it's recorded, and it's for people who are not necessarily ready to make that long-term commitment of investing with a partnership, and they want to still figure out, hey, like, I don't really know how to articulate why I'm doing this, or I'm having trouble with my marketing, or I really want to figure out how to get the sponsor, but I'm not sure how to organize my deck. It's really specific branding, marketing, and PR questions that you have, and it can be anything across the board. I will leverage whatever knowledge I have during that conversation with you. I don't hold anything back. If I don't know how to do it, I'll tell you I don't know how to do it, and I'll tell you to Google it. If I do know how to do it, I'll let you know. If I know someone who knows how to do it, I'll let you know. That's what that call is for, me leveraging my expertise to you. I'm not going to do that on a discovery call, and I'm damn sure not going to do it on these Instagram Live. That 60 minutes, I'm connecting with you, so that way when you get off the line, you're like, okay, I can do this. Like, I have a better sense of like what I'm supposed to be doing, how to make a strategy, all that good stuff. I also want people to know that there's someone that's there for them in all stages of their growth, because I get it. Sometimes people aren't necessarily ready to invest in a long-term partnership. They'd rather get some answers and then figure out, okay, can I actually do this myself? And by all means, I totally encourage you to figure out can I do this myself? Can I research this myself? What is this going to involve? Because that's the best way to learn. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And as always, keep doing what you're doing. And I will see you guys next week.